let's start with midline stability. So everybody stand up. So main thing is this. Do you have control and awareness of your pelvis? Right? Everyone knows the lumbar arch. Right? So we stand natural, right? We have a curve in our low back. And when we lift or squat, we want to maintain that. So let's just squeeze our belly tight, keeping our chest up. And you can feel, can you flex those muscles, right? And just make them harder, more rigid. Now, can you rotate your pelvis under, right? This is called hollow, right? And just move back and forth. Does that feel awkward to you? Do you feel confident in what you're doing, right? And just moving that. Belly stays tight the entire time, right? Now, spread out a little bit. And I want you to get into a plank position. Get into a plank position for me. Put your feet together. Now we're going to increase the demands of your body. Now you have to focus on keeping your arms straight. Now I want you to try to do that with your pelvis again. It's a little more hard, a little more challenging, right? Because your body, it's like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time, right? And this is what movement's all about, right? You have to control multiple things at once. You got to know what's going on with your low back while you're picking up that heavy weight, while you're holding something overhead. Good. Everyone stand up. All right? This is where really, really basic stuff like hollow holds is important. People find it like, oh, I can do it, or oh, what? It's about reinforcing good, strong positions, right? You have, like, the more you perform a movement the proper way, the easier it is to maintain when you're tired and under load, okay? So that concept, as we get into the next step, is important. For bracing, this is the idea of creating pressure in our midline. This is why we wear belts, okay? But it's holding your breath, pushing into your diaphragm. Your transverse abdominis basically acts like a weightlifting belt, right? It creates pressure so that nothing moves here. That should happen all the time. It happens kind of naturally in some things that we do, right? But you need to train yourself to do that. Every heavy lift that you do should have some bracing in it. People do all types of funny things with their cheeks and whatnot. But when I watch people doing movements, I've done this for so long, my belly gets tight. Just from what I'm like, you know? It's like tightness in your midline should just be second nature. You do it so often, right? In the beginning, like so many things, you have to think about it, right? But the more you practice it, the more ingrained it's going to become in your movements, okay? Next is the squat. So you guys can have a seat again real quick. So the squat. There are multiple types of squats. One I talk about is just like the bathroom position, right? This is just like a mobility drill, right? Are you comfortable in this position? This is a position everyone should be comfortable in, okay? I have this in my common fixes, bottom of squat, just hanging out here. If you find that when you try to squat deep, whether it's this position or a loaded position, and it's hard for you, right? For most people, that's an ankle issue. Right, when they can't drop down, it's not a hip issue because their shins stay vertical, right? So they can't drop into this position, right? Because of ankles. This is why we wear lifting shoes. It lifts our ankles slightly, right? And gives us more ability to stay vertical into a deep position. But if you aren't aware, if you have a good squat, this is a critical thing for you to focus on. If you know that you don't have a good squat, this should be a priority in your CrossFit life, right? It's a matter of injury prevention, improving performance, improving your overall health, right? It'll translate to so many other things, okay? When we squat, talk about two types of squats. There is something, anyone know of a low bar back squat? Anyone ever heard of that? Right? That's where the bar goes on the shoulder blades. It's more like ever seen power lifters squat? Those big dudes, right? And the squat looks like that. They like barely go below parallel, right? That's a powerlifting squat, and it's a stronger movement because the bar is lower on your back, closer to your hip. So the lever arm, does that make sense? Is you can hold more weight and you can use more muscle. For what we do in Olympic lifting, we like a vertical torso with the bar higher on our back, right? So that we can do more things, right? We can do more things with our upper body. We want to stay vertical, right? So now I can hold weight over my head, right? I can translate into pressing overhead if I need. And this is the position we want to try to get people into for other functional movements. When you're here, okay, your knee should never collapse inside your toe. Okay, if you find when you try to squat, no matter how hard you try, your toes just keep wandering out and the knees keep falling inward, this is going to put a lot of stress on your knee, and it's one of those things that can cause an injury over time. Okay, the low back at the bottom, that pelvis should be tilted so you maintain a nice lumbar arch. Over time, you can ideally hold that super deep. Maybe you find right now that when you get to here, it's good, but when you get to here, it's not, right? You're trying to hold that as deep as possible. How does that help us? If you're doing an Olympic lift, right, and you catch a really heavy weight, and it crushes you in the bottom, you're still in a strong, engaged position through your back, right? You can maintain tension in your hamstrings, and you can still squat out of this without hurting yourself, right? Have you done like 150 wall balls, right? And you're just getting crushed in the bottom position, right? We want to be strong in this position, and you want to be aware of what's going on, okay? And this is about doing good quality reps, reinforcing good position, okay? So how do we get good at this? I said ankles are a big one, but another big one is neuromuscular. CrossFit found this actually years later. They thought it was a mobility issue for a lot of people. People would squat like this. They're like, they couldn't squat deeper. But they gave them a 25-pound plate, and they'd squat perfectly. Because the people didn't understand how to hold their chest up and keep their back tight. They weren't balanced properly. They didn't understand this concept of brace, hips back. But when they were given a weight, it happened naturally, right? So if you struggle to get into a good deep squat, this is a really cool fix if you've never tried it. Hold the weight out in front of you and squat. And it forces you, you can't go down, right? It pulls you forward. So it teaches you how to push your butt back, right? We see a lot of people, sorry. Right? They do squatting all the time, but they still have to work on some of those basic mechanics, okay? And I tell people, moving in slow motion is really good. Watching videos of yourself. But if you struggle with this, you gotta take some time to improve. Okay, you gotta practice. You guys all know the wall squat? Let's come do some wall squats. If you just worked out, you know, you can watch. But the wall squat is a cool drill just to get you to feel engagement in your back. And the challenges of a perfect squat. Can anyone do this with their toes touching the wall? Anyone know? I don't think I can without mobility, but the idea is when we squat, we don't really want our knees to go in front of our toes. This puts a lot, again, pressure on the knees. We want the knees to go out, right, and stay kind of level with the toe, right? So the knees push out, not forward, okay? So when we face the wall, and you put your toes to the wall will block you. You can't go forward. Right? It forces the knee to push to the outside. And then the wall as well will force your chest to stay up. If you have any inclination forward, right, you're not going to be able to do it, okay? So I do this in warm-up all the time. It's really, really hard. If you need to grab a chair for this, you can do this as well, because it'll make you feel like you're going to fall over backwards, okay? But it looks like this. You put your feet in your normal squat stance. Don't let them flare out too much, so the toes can come out just a little bit. Arms stay straight, thumbs stay touching, and you're going to try to squat below parallel, and then stand up, okay? If you can do that, you're going to get a little closer. See if you can get your toes to the wall. I can't do it, right? But what most people feel for the first time when doing this properly is their back, this engagement of their back. Right? And this feeling of being out of balance, okay? And getting good at this reinforces good squat positioning. You don't need a coach. right? It's like a self-coach. So find a space on the wall. You can go on the other side if you want as well. And I want you to go in slow motion. Don't go fast. Right? Put your feet in normal squat stance. Put your thumbs touching, arms straight. And do 15 squats. Is that how you squat, Tim? Is that where you put your feet?
Yeah, way out there.
Becky, is that how you squat with your feet?
I think so, yeah.
You don't stand like toes out. Your brain is going to want you to put your toes pointing outward, right? Don't put your feet exactly how you squat normally. Don't let your toes go out too much. Good, so if you can get below parallel, come a little closer. Put your thumbs touching, keep your arms straight.
Okay.
Good, just keep going so you get your toes to the wall. So again, this is just about learning to engage your full body when you do this. It's nothing fancy. There, if you can get below parallel, get closer to the wall. Right? And one thing I like to do with this is if you're working on something mobility-wise, right? Let's say you're working on your hips or you're working on your hamstrings or your ankles, right? Work on it for a bit. Try the wall squats before and after and see if it gets easier or not. Right? Do you feel an improved position? When you're working on improving your position mobility-wise, again, let's say ankles, really simple working on your ankles, right? You can hang out in this position. You can do both feet or just one. Spending 2 minutes a leg just trying to improve your range of motion in your ankle, right? Then go back to the wall and see if you feel like your position's better, right? Test and retest. But as you get better at your squat, you should find that your Olympic lifts get easier. It's easier to do wall balls. You should, all of your strength numbers should go up in your squats, right? So you should be aware of what's going on with your squat. Film yourself, see what you look like. Is your knee collapsing in? Okay? How deep can you get with a nice lumbar arch in your back? Okay? Improve with those things and everything gets better. All right? The next thing on our list is the hip hinge. So you guys come on back. So the hip hinge is just that idea of lifting things off the ground, right? When I do my intros, all I have people do is put their hands on their thighs. And I say, I want you to not round your low back. I want you to slide your hands. I want to see if they have an awareness. Some people get this. Like, it's like, okay, I don't get it. Like, what's the hard part, right? For some people, it's flexibility in the hamstrings, okay? Well, they'll get to here. Their hamstrings are so tight that only to go down, they have to round their back, right? Because their hamstrings are pulling on their hips so much, okay? Which is a big one. More for guys, I'd say. Women are typically a bit more flexible in the hamstrings. But again, for some people, it's an awareness thing because it's not just the low back, right? But it's also the upper back, right? Of reaching here. So keeping the shoulders pulled back, that from the top of the head through the hips, learning to hold that position under load, okay? This one, common fixes, partial range of motion. If you cannot maintain a quality lumbar spine or low back in the bottom position off the floor, you shouldn't be loading it heavily, right? It's just like number one rule, don't do it. Okay, you have to establish, do you not have that range of motion? Okay, if you don't, you can start with the bar a little higher. Everyone can do it at some height, okay? So if you need to set up plates or blocks or something else you can do is a sumo stance deadlift. If you need to do deadlifts in a workout where you can go super wide stance and your torso can stay more vertical. Okay, it's a little different, but again, just in the short term, if you have that flexibility issue. And then the last thing I want to show is the Jefferson curl, all right? Who here knows what the Jefferson curl is? All right, there's a gymnastics program I like. He says this is like the number one stretch he would advise for anybody to do. If you can do one stretch, it's the Jefferson curl, okay? And to do it properly, it's really sucky, okay? This is a weighted standing pike stretch, okay? So starting with a light barbell, or depending on your comfort level, You stand feet together, knees do not bend at all right? And you're going to curl yourself down, pushing your knees back, reaching at the bottom, and then curling yourself back up. That's it, okay? It's an active, weighted stretch, all right? It hits the hamstrings and the low back, because what happens at the end of the hamstrings, right? Ideally, you get to here, and then you can even turn your hips over even longer. You can completely compress your body in half, okay? And what having this ability does is not just make it easier to lift things off the ground, but it also provides a big buffer for reducing injury, right? The bigger range of motion, the more flexibility you have, the more room you're going to have for, avoiding injury. Does that make sense? Did anyone see my post, my Bruce Lee post?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I can't remember it exactly, but basically it's, the bamboo can get whipped around in a hurricane winds and never break, right? But an oak tree will crack, right? So it's not just strength, but flexibility, okay? So let's see who can do the Jefferson curl. We're going to do it just with no weight. And so I want you guys to stand up, find some room. And here's the thing that people miss on this when they do it. Do not let your knees bend at all. Be super hard on yourself. Do not let your knees bend at all, okay? Think in your mind that you're pushing your knees backwards the entire time, okay? So if you're really flexible, try to get your chest all the way to your thighs. Try to get your hands flat on the floor, however you want to measure it, right? But I want you to roll down, all right? Keep your knees pushed back. At the bottom, you can grab your legs if you want, pull as hard as you can at the bottom, and then stand back up. Give me 9 more reps like that. At the bottom of every rep, I want you to work as hard as possible. It should really suck at the bottom. Push your knees back. Don't let them bend at all. Reach. Pull on your legs if you need to, like a weight. Good, and stand back up. So the exercise will be performed with weight for this, guys. At the bottom of every rep, work as hard as you can. Compress your body as hard as you can, every single rep. You should feel improvement every single rep.
Where would the weight go?
You'd hold it in your hands. So for those that are flexible, you stand on a box, and then your weight goes past your toes. Chrissy's pretty good. But again, guys, the main point here is when you do this stuff, you should be working hard, okay? The Jefferson curl I like a lot because, and you could take this to a variety of other things, which I'm going to talk about. But I think that static stretching where you hold position, I don't think is as effective purely because people don't work as hard. When you do something like this, people are like, okay, 9 more reps, and they like work their fucking ass off. Okay, 8 more. And they actually work to gain position, right? And you can use this idea for a lot of different things that you do static stretching on, okay? Perform with reps, under load, dynamically, and work on actually seeing some positive change in your position. If you just did this and you struggled, right? Some of you were still bending your knees even though I said not to, right? Because you're like, well, if I don't bend my knees, it looks like this. Right? That's not good, right? This should be a priority, right? So that's just a quick hip hinge thing. We see it all the time. In our Olympic lifts is how we finish, right? In our kettlebell swings, we use it in good mornings for warm-up a lot, which is a really good indicator for where you're at. You'll see in class, like there's big differences in range of motion for the good morning, depending on flexibility. But again, that's a big one. You gotta work on that. You have to be comfortable in that position. If you are scared of lifting things off the floor, if you are scared when you see deadlifts, all right, you should make that a primary purpose in your CrossFit life, okay? Lifting, I'd say more than squatting, is something we see in our day-to-day lives, all right? You should be really comfortable doing that. You guys can have a seat again. I was actually just talking about this with Steve yesterday, and because of my life and coaching, I am really aware, like I'm comfortable picking up 200 plus pounds off the ground completely cold, right? I have no fear of that whatsoever. I'm completely confident in my ability to do that. A squat feels a lot different. I wouldn't go into a heavy squat cold at all, right? But a deadlift is something I feel I could load up, boom, stand up. I feel totally comfortable in that. And kind of having that understanding of yourself and what you're comfortable doing cold or fresh is kind of a cool way to think about things, right? Knowing your body. So that's the hip hinge. Again, if you want more specifics on that, this is really crash course stuff. Just saying, like, if you know that you're not good at a deadlift, you know, you got to work on that. Overhead position. Steve, are shoulders number one issue you see or no?
I would say they're definitely at the top.
Yeah. Overhead position is the thing that we don't see in regular life, right? What do we do over our head in day-to-day life? Not much, right? Yeah. Right? Anything? Overhead is the thing that we see the biggest problem. It's the desk issue, right? We're forward, and we've been forward for years from sitting as a student, our jobs, just lack of use. So overhead position is something a lot of people need to work on. It's our biggest struggle in here, I'd say, as far as introducing CrossFit training with people that don't have good positioning yet. We do a lot of overhead work in our programming. So it's something that you have to be aware of is, do you have good overhead position, and how should you scale workouts accordingly? So the standard of movement I'm talking about here is this. Talking about that basic, so not hollow, but just our standard position when I put my arms overhead, okay? Here's the thing that if you have super tight shoulder, right, you compromise to get to center or balance position by compromising in your back potentially, right? This is with weight. This is how pressing overhead you could hurt your back, right? Or let's say it's not just a press, but something really dynamic. Imagine a really heavy jerk, right? Catch 100 pounds over your head with an arched back. That's no good. We want to be tight belly, open shoulder, right? So that this position when I receive is solid, straight up and down. I don't want to be arched to the back, okay? And that's for lifting, right? Or even, this is one that CrossFit gets a lot about, is the overhead kettlebell swing. Narrow grip is really hard to get overhead. So if you take a weight and you swing it into this position that you can't get to with weight, right? Your shoulder can get inflamed. Or the other big one is the swinging on the pull-up bar, right? So now instead of arching through our back, we're just forcing our shoulder into a position that's not there. So the tendons and ligaments in the shoulder end up taking the brunt of that versus the musculature that should be, okay? And this is where scaling isn't just about how strong you are, but it's really just about flexibility and mobility and having good position and understanding that, right? So can you open the shoulder, right? Are you aware if you have that position or not, right? It's hard. It's a tough one because we don't do it that often. Sorry, I keep thinking you guys are going to ask a question, but you're just testing. So here are the most common fixes that I have. And I want to go through these, actually. So everyone grab a foam roller. The keg drill is one of my, besides the Jefferson curl, it's probably the number one thing I recommend people to do because it makes you better at tons of stuff that we do, overhead, Olympic lifting, gymnastics, for those that don't have good overhead position. So grab a foam roller. Sure we do. If you haven't heard me say this, guys, I'm going to do Arts and Crafts Day soon. We're going to build our own foam rollers.
I'd love to do that. I just give me the regular ones to do that.
All right, let's come to the main area, find some space. All right, so, can I borrow that? The keg drill, the idea is imagine you're just passed out on a keg, all right? This is for the upper back, all right? So the way this works is you can use a barbell to weight your hands down, but you don't need it if you focus on what you're doing, okay? The first thing you need to be aware of is where the roller goes, okay? So look at how I'm rolling up and down on my back, as everyone likes to do, okay? So you want to roll until you feel the roller hit the bottom of your shoulder blades, okay? So you need to be aware of where your shoulder blades are. It's a pointy triangle, right? At the bottom of your shoulder blades is where you want the roller to end up, okay? So I've found that position, okay? From here, I'm going to reach my arms back overhead. I'm going to find the ground. The wider you go, the easier it is. The narrower you go, the harder it is, okay? So you can start kind of wide. Keep your head off the ground. Find this position. Just watch first, right? I've got my position here. From here, I drop my hips to the ground. And now what do I look like? Like an overhead position, right? Like an overhead squat maybe, okay? And I'm just working on pushing the ribs down and opening the shoulders up, okay? If this feels reasonable, meaning you don't feel like you're doing any work, right? What you can do is reset the position, come back up, lift your butt, bring your hands a little more narrow, drop your hips, and then work in a narrower position, okay? You're going to want to drop your head. There's a ton of tension through your upper back and through your neck. You're going to want to relax into this position. This is not, again, if you're standing overhead, it's not, right? We want to have a neutral spine, okay? So this opening that up with the head up is what we want to work on, okay? This is called a 2-minute drill, right? You hang out here for 2 minutes, and your position gets better. You can do this before workouts, after days off, but we're going to do this for 2 minutes, so we'll do it together, okay? So what's your first job?
Find your shoulder blades.
Find the bottom of the shoulder blades, the pointy part at the bottom of the shoulder blade. Okay, your feet are still flat on the ground, guys. Your hips are still off the ground. You find that position, push your feet flat. Good. From there, reach back. You can go wide if you want or narrow. Hands are touching the ground and your elbows are locked out. All right? Elbows are locked out, just like you're holding the barbell. Other way. There you go. Good. Then you drop your hips to the ground, feet out in front, and just hang out there. Head is up, legs straight. Good. So you can go narrower. And you should be thinking about reaching overhead. Keep the head up. There's a lot of tension. Elbows should be locked out. It's a little high. Put it here. Christian, your hand should be touching the ground. Or if you need to go really wide, that's okay. You're a little high in the back. You want it closer here. If you need to reset, that's okay if I come around and adjust you. Think push the ribs down while keeping the hands in contact with the floor. So push down. Lock out your elbows. Go a little wider. And again, you can imagine if you're holding onto a barbell, that would anchor your arms down, okay? Even if you have good mobility, this is a good warm-up to just make sure that you get all those sticky spots out. That was just over a minute. And again, this is the reason I'm introducing it to you, because it's really effective. It's hard work, but it's relatively quick, and it really works. Remember, at any point, you can readjust if you feel like, oh, I got this position down, readjust. You got 30 more seconds. Don't let it go too high. Here. The roller, other way. Keep going. Remember, pay attention to where that roller is on your back. And there you go. Push the ribs down while you're going. 10 more seconds. Three, 2, 1, and relax. Right? So again, flexibility and good position is not just about efficiency, but injury prevention, right? Have you ever done a snatch where you miss it behind you, right? You catch it like, right? It comes back into that big open position, right? This is a really good drill, Okay, it's fast, it's easy to do. Okay, so that's one. What's the other drill I have up there? Hanging, yes. Hanging, I tell everybody they should have a pull-up bar in their house permanently installed in a doorway, not for pull-ups, just for hanging on it, right? I can't tell you how often in mine, I don't do pull-ups very often, to be honest with you, because it's really low and kind of annoying, but I hang on it like this all the time. I just have conversations, right? Right, I'll just hang there and just do this. It gives us more overhead time in our lives, okay? But if you lack mobility, or for those of you, again, typically the position, this is not a sexist thing, most guys are too strong and not flexible enough. Most women are too flexible and not strong enough, right? So if you have mobility overhead, but you hate hanging on the bar, you still can get shoulder issues from not being active in your shoulder, right? So again, you're not on the musculature, but you're dangling on the tendons and ligaments, right? And so getting time just hanging is going to develop strength through this whole position, right? Through fingertips all the way down through our shoulders, right? Getting nice and strong. When you're hanging, you can do a couple things, right? You can sink down, opening the shoulder up, right? Really trying to get some big range of motion and just hanging, open the shoulder for those with lack of mobility. If you struggle with strength, you can shrug with a big range of motion. Or you can do some swings, right? Nice and light to start. Okay, but getting time in this position and getting comfortable here, right? A little bit of movement is okay, is something really easy and effective, okay? So everyone find a spot on the pull-up bar. Who has a pull-up bar in their house? Good for you guys. It's one of those things I want to sell at the front desk. All right, let's just do 15 seconds, okay? 15 seconds. Everyone hop up in 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, I want you to hang down as far as you can. Pull yourself down, extend your shoulder. Good, just think gravity is pulling you, stretching you out. Three, 2, 1, and hop off. Ah. Does that feel okay? All right, I want you to try that again. I want you to do your palms facing you, right? Feel this rotation is going to be a little different stretch, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. If your hands hurt, it's all right. And think about sinking down as far as you can. Open up the shoulder. Three, 2, 1, and relax. Right? Nothing fancy. Okay? You can feel you get a little stretch. Let's finish off with some shoulder shrugs, right? Just scapula pull-ups. So give me 5 hands forward. Again, think big range of motion, squeezing the shoulder blades up and down, and then do 5 with the palms facing you. Sink down as far as you can, shrug up as high as you can. 5 in each position. 5 hands forward, 5 hands facing you. Try not to bend your elbows. Again, these are things we do in warm-up a lot, but I'm just getting at spending some time, some volume, supplemental work. All right, and then the last thing I have up there, guys, is TheraBand work. I've been talking with Steve about getting more. Have you guys seen the crossover symmetry bands? Anyone know what those are? Yeah. All right. TheraBand work, anyone ever injure their shoulder and go to PT and you did this move? Right? Yeah, it's like everyone's done this, right? And this is where the idea of prehab came in. You shouldn't just do that when you hurt your shoulder, but you should do it to prevent injury. That's for the rotator cuff muscles, right? And doing this before, after, in between workouts is really important. I Steve said a statement to me once about this position, about those muscles. They're endurance muscles. They should just be on all the time, holding our shoulders in a solid position, right? They just get turned off from lack of use, right? We want to get them strong. And there's TheraBand routines that we don't have to do in group class often enough, and it's something I want to introduce more, so I have to get some system that we can do that with. But again, if you have shoulder issues at all and you've never done that, I can send you some of those videos that Steve's made and show you guys how to do that. Because before and after class on your own, there's always like bands here. It's just not enough for all of you at one time. But TheraBand work regularly is amazing. You can do it like 4 or 5 times a day, right? It won't do anything bad to you. It'll only make you stronger. Is that a true statement? Again, if you're interested in that, let me know in the follow-up email, and I'll send you guys that stuff. Cool. What else we got? We're getting there.